night was dark, the streets silent, until the roar of motorcycles shattered the peace. In the distance, headlights slashed through the mist, a pack of cruel bikers tearing through the backroads, laughing, drunk on chaos. They didn't know who they had crossed. Lying in the dirt, whimpering, was a loyal canine, bleeding, wounded, but still trying to stand. His deep brown eyes burned with pain, but his spirit refused to break. Not far away, his trainer, Officer Cole, found him. The sight stopped his heart. Blood soaked the fur of his best friend. Cole's fingers curled into fists. His veins burned with rage. The bikers thought they had won. They thought no one would come for them. They had no idea they had just made the worst mistake of their lives. Tonight, there would be no mercy. Cole and his canine partner, Shadow, were more than just a team. They were brothers. Shadow had been with him for 5 years, through every dangerous chase, every drug bust, every life-threatening call. They had saved each other more times than either could count. Shadow wasn't just a police dog. He was a warrior, a protector. Cole never feared the darkness because he knew Shadow was always by his side. But tonight, that trust had been shattered. Someone had hurt Shadow. And there was one thing Officer Cole knew better than anyone. When you hurt a canine, you don't just break the law. You sign your own death warrant. The night air was thick with the scent of gasoline and burning rubber. The sound of engines roared through the empty streets as a group of bikers sped recklessly down a back alley, their laughter echoing like a pack of hyenas. Shadow had been separated from Cole during a foot chase. The canine, trained and disciplined, stood his ground in the alleyway, ears perked, muscles tense. He had been through dangerous situations before, but this was different. The lead biker, a burly man covered in tattoos, skidded to a stop, smirking as he removed his helmet. Well, what do we have here? His voice was filled with amusement. Another biker, a lanky man with a cruel grin, stepped closer, cracking his knuckles. A lonely little mutt. Where's your master boy? Shadow growled, his deep chest vibrating with warning. He wasn't afraid. He was trained to take down criminals like them. One of them tossed an empty beer bottle at him. It shattered against the pavement, inches away from his paws. Shadow didn't flinch. "Oh, he's a tough one of the bikers sneered. The leader nodded, then without warning, kicked Shadow hard in the ribs. The impact sent the dog stumbling, a sharp yelp escaping his throat. Shadow recovered quickly, snapping his teeth, his instincts screaming for him to fight. But they surrounded him now, laughing, taunting. Another kick landed, then another. Shadow lunged, his powerful jaws clamping onto the arm of one of the attackers. The man screamed in pain as blood trickled down his sleeve. "Get him off," he shouted, but Shadow refused to let go. Fury flashed in the leader's eyes. He grabbed a tire iron from his bike and swung it. The crack of metal against bone echoed in the alley. Shadow collapsed, his vision blurring, pain exploding in his side. His body refused to move. His breath came in shallow pants. The bikers stood over him, grinning, thinking they had won. "Stupid dog," one muttered, kicking dirt at him before they revved their engines, disappearing into the night. But what they didn't know, Shadow wasn't alone. Cole was coming, and he wasn't coming to arrest them. The moment Cole saw Shadow lying in the dirt, his world stopped. His canine partner, his best friend, was broken and bleeding. Shadow's chest rose and fell in shallow, uneven breaths. His fur was matted with blood, his powerful body struggling to move. Cole dropped to his knees beside him, his heart hammering against his ribs. "Shadow." His voice was barely a whisper, raw with emotion. He reached out, running his fingers gently over Shadow's head. The dog's ears twitched slightly, a weak sign that he was still holding on. Cole swallowed hard, his vision blurring with rage. Who did this? He didn't need to guess. The tire marks in the dirt, the stench of motor oil lingering in the air, it was clear as day. The bikers. His fists clenched so hard his knuckles turned white. His entire body burned with fury, hotter than any fire he had ever felt. He had seen criminals do terrible things, but this was different. This wasn't just about the law. This was personal. Shadow let out a weak whine, trying to lift his head. Even in his pain, he wanted to stand. Wanted to fight. Cole's throat tightened. Easy, boy. I got this. He wasn't calling for backup. He wasn't filing a report. This wasn't about protocol anymore. It was about justice. Cole stood up, his jaw clenched so tight it hurt. His badge gleamed under the dim streetlight. But tonight, he wasn't just a cop. He was a man with a mission. He had spent years tracking criminals, taking them down one by one. He had fought, bled, and nearly died in the line of duty. But never had he felt rage like this. Never had he wanted revenge so badly. He took one last look at Shadow, his heart pounding. Rest up, partner. This isn't over. Then, with the fire of vengeance burning in his veins, he turned on his heel. Somewhere out there, the bikers were celebrating, laughing, thinking they got away with it. They had no idea the storm that was coming for them. Cole was going to find them, and tonight, he would show them what happens when you mess with a cop's canine. Cole's boots pounded against the pavement as he stormed toward his car. His hands trembled, not with fear, but with rage. The kind of rage that made men do things they couldn't take back. He threw open the door, slid into the driver's seat, and gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. The bikers thought they had won. They thought they could hurt Shadow and walk away. Not tonight. Cole's mind worked fast, piecing together the clues. The tire tracks, the beer bottle shards, the faint scent of cigarette smoke. These guys had been at it for hours. That meant they had a hideout nearby. He grabbed the police radio but hesitated. Calling for backup meant rules, procedures, things that would slow him down. No, this wasn't about arrests. This was about payback. He knew where they'd be. There was only one bar in town that took in scum like them, the Iron Fang. A biker bar. A place where criminals drank and bragged about their worst crimes. Cole's foot slammed on the gas. The city lights blurred as he sped through the streets, his heart pounding in sync with the roaring engine. By the time he reached the bar, his rage had settled into something colder, something deadly. He stepped out of the car, rolling his shoulders, preparing himself. Inside that bar, the men who hurt Shadow were laughing, drinking, thinking they were safe. Cole cracked his knuckles. They had no idea what was coming. Cole stood outside the rundown warehouse on the outskirts of town. The place reeked of motor oil and bad decisions, exactly the kind of place scum like them would hide. His fingers flexed at his sides. He wasn't here to negotiate. Pushing the door open, he stepped inside. The dim light flickered, casting long shadows against the graffiti-covered walls. At the center of the room, the bikers sat around a table, counting cash, drinking, laughing, like nothing had happened. The leader, the same one who had hurt Shadow, looked up, his smirk twisting into something cruel. Well, look who finally showed up. Cole's gaze was cold, controlled. You didn't think I'd let this slide, did you? A few bikers exchanged glances. Some shifted uncomfortably. Others chuckled. The leader leaned back in his chair, tilting his beer bottle lazily. It's just a dog, man. Move on. Cole's jaw tightened. His muscles burned with the need to act. But he kept his voice steady. You made 2 mistakes. The leader raised an eyebrow, amused. Oh yeah. Cole took a step closer. First, you laid your hands on my partner. Another step. Second, you thought I wouldn't come for you. The leader scoffed. You got guts, cop, but you're outnumbered. Cole's lips curled into a small, humorless smile. Good, I was hoping for a challenge. The tension in the room thickened. Chairs scraped against the floor. Bikers shifted, readying themselves. Cole's fists clenched. It was time to finish what they started. The first punch came fast. One of the bikers lunged at Cole, aiming for his face, but Cole ducked, driving his fist into the man's ribs. The biker gasped, stumbling backward as another swung a crowbar toward his head. Cole sidestepped just in time, grabbing the attacker's wrist and twisting it hard. The man howled in pain as the weapon clattered to the floor. The leader stood back, watching with an amused grin. He's tougher than I thought, he muttered before nodding to the others. Finish him! 2 bikers charged at once. Cole grabbed a chair, swinging it hard and sending one crashing into a table. The second threw a wild punch. Cole blocked it, countering with a brutal uppercut that sent the man sprawling. Someone grabbed Cole from behind, locking an arm around his throat. He felt the grip tighten, but he wasn't about to go down. Using pure strength, he slammed his elbow into the biker's gut, then flipped him over his shoulder. The man hit the ground hard, groaning in pain. Now, only the leader remained standing. He clapped slowly, shaking his head. "Not bad, cop, but you're bleeding." Cole touched his lip, wiping away the blood. "I've had worse." The leader smirked, pulling out a knife. "Let's see how much worse you can take." Cole exhaled, rolling his shoulders. He wasn't afraid, because unlike them, he was trained to win. The leader twirled the knife between his fingers, taking slow, deliberate steps toward Cole. "You should have walked away," he sneered. Cole's muscles tensed, eyes locked on the blade. He had disarmed men before, but this was different. This wasn't about stopping a criminal. This was personal. The leader lunged, slashing at Cole's chest. Cole dodged, barely missing the cold steel. He grabbed the biker's wrist, twisting it violently. The knife clattered to the floor. Before the leader could react, Cole landed a devastating punch to his jaw. The biker staggered back, dazed, but Cole wasn't done. He grabbed the man by the collar and slammed him against the wall. "This is for Shadow," he growled. The leader's eyes flickered with fear. He struggled, but Cole's grip was ironclad. Then, with one final brutal punch, Cole sent him crumpling to the ground. The warehouse was silent. The other bikers lay groaning, defeated. Cole stood over the leader's unconscious body, breathing heavily. He should have felt relief, but he wouldn't. Not until he got back to Shadow. He grabbed his phone and made the call. "Send a team. They're done." As sirens echoed in the distance, Cole turned toward the door. This fight was over, but there was one battle left to win. Cole rushed through the doors of the veterinary clinic, his heart pounding. Shadow lay on the table, his chest rising and falling in slow, shallow breaths. His fur was bandaged, his body weak, but he was alive. "Hey, buddy," Cole whispered, kneeling beside him. Shadow's ears twitched at the familiar voice. The vet smiled. "He's a fighter. He just needs rest." Cole exhaled, a weight lifting off his shoulders. He reached out, running his fingers gently over Shadow's head. "You held on, partner. Just like I knew you would." Shadow let out a weak but happy whine, nudging Cole's hand. Even after everything, his spirit hadn't broken. Cole swallowed hard. "We got them, boy. They won't hurt anyone else." Shadow's tail wagged ever so slightly. Cole smiled, rubbing his head. "Yeah, we did good." For the first time in a long time, peace settled over him. Because no matter what happened, they would always have each other. A canine is more than just a dog. He's a protector, a warrior, a partner. When Shadow was hurt, Cole didn't just seek revenge. He sent a message. You don't mess with a cop's partner. Because loyalty isn't just about protection. It's about justice. And sometimes, justice comes with no mercy.